Welcome back to another episode of The Rhythm. I am your host, Jarrett Reed. The Rhythm is about finding your way, of understanding where you come from and how you got there and where you are now, and trying to tell that story. I have a pretty interesting guest here, but before we get to him, here's a little something from my idol.
Yeah, first of all, you know what I'm saying? We want to thank God, just, you know what I'm saying, dead serious, because if it weren't for him, you know what I'm saying, we wouldn't be here. But it's like this, though. I'm tired of folks, you know what I'm saying? Them closed-minded folks, you know what I'm saying? It's like we got a demo tape and don't nobody want to hear it, but it's like this, the South got something to say. That's all I got to say.
And forever, the South will have something to say, and hopefully I'll be the one saying it. So let me introduce my guest. He is the founder and CEO of Behr Health, Xavier University alum, Kwame Terra. Nice to meet you, bro.
Good to meet you too, Jared.
I mean, we've met before, but appreciate you pulling up.
Yeah,
Thanks.
of course, of course.
You have a pretty interesting story to tell. You own an app. Like, one, I mean, I don't know too many people that own an app. I don't know too many Black people that own an app. Like, how did you get to this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's a relatively long story, but
yeah, we'll chop it up at
Yeah.
times. But
well, I guess most recently, during the COVID-19 pandemic, just like everybody else, I was just kind of like really, really bothered by the effect that it was having on the Black community, and I just wanted to do something so that next pandemic or next challenge that we face in the Black community, we're in better health to have a better outcome. And I knew that, you know, our current system wasn't designed to solve that problem. And if we were going to actually create any type of sustained change, we needed a new system, not just a new tool or a new workshop or a new seminar. We needed a new system, a new platform. And the first thing that came to mind was we don't really know how bad we're doing.
Yeah.
In the Black community as it relates to our health. We don't understand the short and long-term implications of our current health status. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that in a way that we can all understand.
I think that's funny because we've gone on runs. We're not going to talk about the last run we went on, but the matter of fact, maybe the second run we were having a conversation while running, and you said to me, "How do we get more people like consistently running? Like, how do we get those people to become consistently running?" And I said, like, it has to be like a community. Like, you have to get people together. And I mean, from what we even seen from, I think that was maybe like a month ago when we had that, discussion, and you see it now, like Sunday, there had to be like over 200 people there. Had to be. So what do you think that is? Like, what do you think brings people together to run, to be more involved and have better health?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of things happening, particularly with the NOLA Miles Club, that are related to health directly and indirectly. In our blueprint to health at Behr, the first component is purpose and community. People aren't going to care about, exercising and eating right and doing all of these extra things to be healthy when they don't feel like they belong to anything or that their life matters in any significant way.
Yeah.
And so that's the first step for every human being to identify what that is. And it doesn't have to be some grand, mission of impact around the world. Just like, take care of yourself first and foremost.
Yeah.
Make sure that you can take care of yourself. And then maybe once you figure that out, see if you can help your family with a little extra that you might have, and then your community, and just like connect, understand that the life that you live, what you do in your life, whether you believe it or not, whether you want it to be true or not, has a direct impact on everyone else. And if we're not all that we can be as individuals, we suffer more than we have to, and so does everybody else. And I think that's like a simple purpose that people can kind of connect to, just to help like become their best self so that we all suffer less. And I think with the NOLA Miles Club in particular, and getting people together to run, it's big on community.
Yeah.
Right. Running with people in general is just much better for your fitness. It gives you more perspective on like how you're improving compared to when you're running by yourself.
Yeah.
You can be convinced that you're going fast and you're not, or that you're improving and you're not. I learned that a lot in cross country training. Anytime I found myself running by myself, compared to, it's just easier to run with people and you feed off each other's energy. I remember when I was in high school, I'll never forget this run. I was running with two of my teammates, and it was kind of a cloudy day, early morning. And I don't know, we just like snapped into a zone, bro. And for the next like 5 miles, it was just same step. Like we just felt like we were floating and you can't get that by yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like the synergy of running together is a big deal. And so, yeah, I think people are coming out there looking for something to do that's not just getting out and drinking and feeling like crap and the next morning, but still being able to socialize and engage with people. And yeah, I don't think there's anything better for health than what's happening with the Nolan Miles Club.
I think it's funny you said synergy, and I think that's more about like rhythm, right? Like having the same rhythm or having similar rhythms to a person that's on the side of you, and that one propels you. To be honest with you, my fastest runs have come running along you. Just to be honest with you, like my fastest runs I've ran this year have come just running along somebody else, because I was running for almost 2 years by myself. And it's difficult at times because you have to be the one getting up. You have to be the one going and run, trying to find time and space and opportunity to do so. But also, like, you didn't just, wake up one day and say, hey, this is what I want to do with my life. I mean, you have a master's in public health. So like there had to be something prior to even the pandemic that, put you on this journey.
Yeah.
What was it?
I mean, I guess I've always been into health, but mostly like for the purpose of maximizing my own potential, just as a human being. I grew up, my dad was really health conscious. Me and all my siblings, we were runners, and so he wanted to make sure that we always had the proper fuel. And so I was always eating a little healthier than the average person, right? A little less fast food, choosing fish or something over red meat or whatnot. And so I guess that's where the seeds were planted, really. And then in college, when you kind of starting to develop your own outlook on life, I just really took learning seriously. Like in undergrad at Xavier, my goal was to become a doctor. But that was really just because my dad told me to go be a doctor. It wasn't really based on anything besides that, and that doctors make a lot of money, and I wanted to make a lot of money. And so, but early in my college career, I got introduced to research and just like the process of how things, how our system as it exists today came to be. And I just wanted to impact that. And so I just started studying and ended up at different universities, UCLA and Brown, doing research on the mind in particular, and how you literally can think yourself into health. I studied in what's called the Mindful Awareness Research Center at UCLA, studying, and it was a crazy term I had never heard before in my life. It's called psychoneuroimmunology. It's about how your mindset or your behavior affects your nervous system, and then as a consequence affects your immune system. And so these very esteemed researchers are sitting here telling me that things that we're hearing on the internet about how you can think yourself, like, is real.
Yeah.
And so that really got my attention, and it opened my mind up to really creating a new framework of belief for my experience. And so my junior year of college, I decided that I was going to kind of start over and recreate myself. And so I questioned everything I did every day until I understood why I was actually doing it. So one thing, for example, why am I hungry? What is my body asking for right now? And what does it need? Right? Because need is important.
Yeah.
Right? We do a lot of things because we just want to do it, but like, what do I actually need? And that's how I started to shape my diet. Body only needs whole food plants to sustain and even thrive. And that's what I started eating. And that's why it ultimately led to me eating a plant-based diet. Because I, again, started doing more and more research. But at the end of the day, or at the beginning of this, it was really just about maximizing my own potential.
That takes a lot of discipline. Like, just from the ground up, like, it takes a lot of discipline. You had to be grounded in discipline. Like you talked about your dad. Like, what has his impact, or anybody else in your life? What have they given you to kind of give you this almost like a head start on life?
Yeah, I mean, both of my parents, I think, do things their way, right? Both of them are entrepreneurs in their own respects. My mom's a real estate agent. My dad is a serial entrepreneur. They never communicated in any way that you have to follow a path, a system that's set for you, and that's the only way. They never did that. My mom, growing up, I mean, she poured into me so much. I mean, she is a great mom to this day, but as a kid, she did a really good job to just instill confidence in me in a way that I just felt like I could do anything. Right? And then as a consequence of believing I can do anything, I put my best self forward, right? I act with confidence. I move forward with energy. And then when you do that, you get better results. And so then now the results are reinforcing
it kind of goes back to the UCLA thing.
Right. Yeah. I had brief experiences in high school where I would feel like, you ever felt like you were dreaming for a second?
Yeah.
Or even for an extended period of time. Just felt like everything has slowed down a bit. And that's really what mindfulness is. It's like being present in the moment so that you can navigate and you can choose which way you want to go and not be getting pulled by the environment. But knowing that like having that solid foundation from my mom, I think gave me the safety net to feel confident enough to take risks on whatever it is that I envision for myself.
I think that's pretty crucial. I mean, to be honest, you don't really hear that in a lot of Black families. Just being honest with you. The ability to allow you, she probably allowed you to fail at times, but also that safety net that you talk about, I think is pretty crucial because you feel pretty confident. Like, even if I fall, I know I'm okay. I know I got somebody, but I still get to do this and fail on my own. And somebody be there to help. I mean, you had to take a risk to start your own app. Like, right? Like, and I know that took a lot of research and a lot of time. So how much time did it actually take to, from inception in your mind to actual product?
Yeah. So inception again was summer 2020 during the pandemic. My aunt actually had a dream that of me leading a health movement, particularly for the Black community. She literally texted me, and then that day I started working.
Did you have the thought before she texted you? Okay.
No. Yeah. I was actually working on like a healthy grocery delivery platform. So it's still in the health stuff, but
where were you again? Where were you when you were starting this? Like, was it in New Orleans or was it?
I was here. Yeah, I was here in New Orleans at that time, working at the airport. I had just moved back here from San Francisco. But yeah, just always wanted to do something big, just because why not? What better do we have to do than like the most that we can here? And so my aunt texted me, and so I chose that particular vision to pursue, and then literally like a week or two later, the Xavier track and cross country coach reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in going back to school. Right? Because so going to school wasn't the plan summer 2020, but lots of plans kind of went by the wayside in summer 2020. Yeah. And so I figured, this man said he gonna pay for my school, pay for my housing if I coach. I love coaching. Right? I love running. Sounds like a good deal.
So at the time you just have your bachelor's in what?
Biology.
In biology. And then you transition, like, okay, well, you're working at the airport. You've moved back, but you're just here.
Yeah, I'm just here. Like the airport is kind of like my foundation, right? So that I get paid from the airport. I get health insurance, dental insurance, and I get flight benefits so I can travel for free. Like that's my that's my setup. My dad worked for the airport for 26 years.
Okay.
So we always got to travel for free. And when you turn 26, they cut you off.
So you were like, nah, I need to read that up.
Exactly. And so that's how I ended up in San Francisco. Actually, I started working at United in San Francisco, driving Lyft in San Francisco, and really introduced me to like the startup culture. I think it planted the seeds that gave me the approach that I took to.
Do you think that like that was on purpose or that was like divine?
I mean, what's not divine? Yeah. At the end of the day. And then obviously in retrospect, everything makes perfect sense. From the shutdown, even the shutdown, a lot of things are going to come out of the pandemic. Obviously, a lot of negative things came out of the pandemic, but a lot of things that are supposed to happen are coming out of the pandemic. And I like to think that what we're doing is one of them. But to get back to kind of how it came about, came up with the idea in the summer. Coach reached out to me. I figured it'd be good that I have a complete understanding of the problem. I understood that we weren't doing well with lifestyle, right? For example,
Yeah.
But why? Like, what are all the complexities that go into why Black people are not living the best, the healthiest lifestyles that we can live? And I'm so glad I got that education, because it's informed how we roll out our different products and services. But yeah, fall 2020, I started my master's in public health. I'm really enjoying it. I'd reached out to a technology company that summer as well, that summer 2020. And that's when I originally came up with the idea for the health score, right? Something simple that everybody can understand and measure and track on a regular basis, and it be affected by how they live their lives, right? Real-time feedback is really what I was going for, because when you go to the doctor and you get your blood pressure done and your cholesterol done, you see that number, they tell you what it means, and then they give you like a pamphlet for how you can, eat better or whatever. And then that pamphlet probably ends up in the trash and you go back to living your life. And that's not enough, especially with all of the distractions that we deal with. We need something that's providing real-time feedback on a daily basis. And so, yeah, I found a technology partner, fall 2020. But again, I was still in school, wasn't ready to launch a company just yet. And after my first year, I decided to, officially, open up shop, found the company in April of 2021. I'll be honest with you, halfway through my first year, I wasn't sure if the app was the solution to the health problem in the Black community in the United States. And that's because at the end of the day, most of what's driving all of the health disparities, like, the differences in health between Black people and other populations, is social determinants of health, environmental determinants of health, where you live, your education level, your income level, type of job that you have. These are the factors that actually are driving literally 60% of the disparities. If we only granted people a quality of life that a human being deserves, most of the health disparities would disappear. Then the rest will be, determined by lifestyle and things like that. And so I was like, do we even need an app to to solve that? And it wasn't until I read an article in April 2021 around just like the power of data to influence and inform social change. And our data is unique because it's not just a blood pressure or glucose reading at one event. Is real time.
Yeah.
And when a city or an institution rolls out like a health promotion program, typically they'll get some data at the beginning, maybe get 50% follow up 6 months later, and then draw up a plan based on that. Well, I mean, so much has changed in each individual's life over that time period that you weren't evaluating. But now with our platform, we see changes day to day in people's lifestyle. So when they do roll out a different health promotion program, a new policy, now we're able to see if that policy is working or how it's affecting people, make modifications if necessary, or continue to invest if it's doing what it's supposed to do. And so that's really what makes our platform different. We're not just another health app for tracking and enhancing well-being. We're a comprehensive solution that works on both the individual level and the community or social level to improve health.
I thought was pretty interesting about the app, and we'll talk about some things you actually discussed. But when I first signed up for the app, it's like, okay, let's see what this actually is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I went for a run maybe like 2 days later, and as soon as I was done, okay, I press in on the app that I'm actually running on, and it updates the activity score on my phone, my
Mm-hmm.
iPhone. Not 2 minutes later, I get a notification from the app saying, we logged in, your score has increased, like instantaneous. It was like, okay, all right, this makes sense. So I go to that. Then there's like these other things that I need to fill out about what I'm eating on a daily basis. Like, all right, how often am I sleeping? Am I meditating? So all right, well, how does this benefit me? And let me just test it out, right? We talk about data, but data is about testing and understanding, okay, you did this one day. Did it impact you? Okay. Did you do the same thing the next day? Did it impact you? So I did it. I did it for about like a week just to make sure, like, all right, do I feel better? And that process of you like breaking down and questioning everything, that's what I kind of did.
Yeah.
And it made sense. Like I felt better. I performed better. My runs were better. My conversations were better. I feel like I for some reason, let's say the last like month or so, I always felt like I was forgetting things that I shouldn't forget. That changed. Just so like very small, intricate things definitely like have an impact. And I think the app is a good way to almost scale yourself.
You said scare yourself?
Scale. Like scale
Yeah.
yourself. Like, all right, well, this is how you feel. This is your score based on that number. I mean, the numbers is 1 to 1,000. I think that's just an easy way to digest it.
Yeah.
And I think you compare it to a credit score.
Yeah.
That's just my synopsis of that. I just kind of want to break it down.
No.
You also said something. Why do better? What better do we have to do than the most? I think that was a quote you just said, and I think that's kind of cool. What better do we have to do than the most? And I think a lot of people try not to do the most.
Oh yeah.
Like almost get by doing the bare minimum because the most is almost too much work. Why is that? What do you think?
Well, I think it's mainly because, I mean, it's two things. I don't know where they fall on the scale, but one is a lot of what's on offer is uninspiring in society. Like the expectation of going to school, getting a job, working that job for 40 years or whatever. Obviously, that's out the window.
Yeah.
And then, you know, having a nice house and
that's almost out the window.
yeah. That might be tough. but yeah, I think it's just like uninspiring to people. It doesn't call out of them their greatness necessarily. It's I mean, there's a pretty simple model for how to get there. As long as you follow that model, you'll get there. But it's not obvious that that's going to draw out of us like our greatness. And so I think that's part of it, right? What's on offer is not super inspiring. And then the second one, more obvious one, is that, I mean, it's hard to realize your own potential is a daily challenge of you confronting or going up against your limitations and then pushing through them. That's not comfortable. And most of us want to be comfortable, and there's so many opportunities to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Every day. And the short term, positive emotions or pleasure that we get from watching TV, from eating good food, and it's not that hard to like have a good time.
I really blame fast food. Like I have a theory about it.
Okay.
I think it's the instant gratification that we perceive or get on a daily basis because we can pick up our phone and escape anything, or we can get in the fast food line and get food very quickly, and we can eat it by the time we leave out of the parking lot. Like it's so fast, everything's moving. Like we don't have time to really enjoy anything. But also, if we continue to move fast, then we'll just lump everything together, and it's like, okay, it's an enjoyable process rather than like, let's actually work hard and get to a point where we know we worked for, and we achieve something that we wanted to get. If that makes sense. Like,
yeah, I mean, when you do it that way, you end up happier and more fulfilled, right? And less desiring of all of these instant gratifications that exist. I mean, ultimately, what scares me about things that provide instant gratification is that it weakens your willpower. Your willpower is how you do everything. And when the relationship between the reward you get and the effort that you put in to get it is off, well, anytime you bump up against any friction in pursuit of what you're doing, you throw your hands up and you say, I'm not doing this anymore. It's too hard. I can go feel good driving through the drive-thru and getting the burger, and that didn't take me but 5 minutes. and a few dollars, or I can lay on the couch all day and watch Netflix. I mean, look, TV is amazing, bro. Like it is a super fulfilling experience. I don't know exactly what code they cracked on that, but that's stuff they did their thing on that. And I get it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't prepare us to, confront and deal with the challenges that we have to face in this life. And it's necessary to strengthen that will, and you do that by setting goals, and they don't have to be grand goals, but setting goals that require a certain level of effort that match the reward, right? And I don't want to get too technical in it, but when you have a positive experience, right? Eat a burger, or watch a good show. You get a dopamine spike.
Yeah.
Right. Goes all the way up, feeling great. But just as high as the spike goes up, it goes down.
Yeah.
Right? And so now you're below your baseline level of like peace and happiness, right? The amount of effort that it takes to get back up there, right, is so much and so great that people then just go and try to get another short term. It takes so much effort to get back up. So it's really important if you're trying to pursue something, or pursue a grand purpose, to just kind of mind your exposure to short term gratification, because it'll distort your willpower. And
so you don't watch TV at all?
no, I do.
Okay.
Well, so when I first started this company, I didn't watch TV for like a year and a half.
Okay.
And I felt great, and like I had never been as effective and as disciplined in my life, when I wasn't. I reintroduced it like toward the end of, I guess, last year, and I started to feel like the effects again, because again, it's super fulfilling to lay on the couch and watch TV. I'm so serious about that. But recently, like just now in June, kind of getting back on the, no TV, no fast food. I mean, I don't eat fast food anyway, but
I got you. Mm-hmm. I mean, it takes a lot of. It seems like your life is pretty much based in discipline, based in like a hard truth. Like, hey, if you want this result, like this is what you have to do, and then there's no other thing that can get in between what you want and what you've decided to do to get it. You talk about dopamine, but which is fine. It's a technical term, but I think a lot of people will understand. Like, this is what crackheads go through. Like their idea is, I've got this gratification. This is this fulfilling feeling that I've got, and I'm trying to get it again. And it's really hard to get that again, and they keep chasing it. And I think about it in the same way. Like, we get that dopamine spike when we open up our phones and looking at Instagram. It's what it's all based on. I mean, I think casinos are based on the exact same process. Like this dopamine spike, they understand what it is. I think television is the exact same way. YouTube's the exact same way. Content is the exact same way. Hopefully right now, this is a dopamine spike for you. But
that's good. That was good.
But I think your process to get to this point, I actually want to talk about this. You had a a fellowship with Pharrell. Like, how did you even get to that point? Like, how did you even get into that process?
Yeah, I want to comment on what you
on
what you were saying about.
This is free. This is don't think this is like structured or super
structured. I'll answer the question. But casinos, social media, as you're describing, they do leverage that our dopamine system, but they leverage it in a very specific way that makes them so powerful, and why we're so hooked on them. There's actually a book called Hooked: How to Build Habit Forming Products. Depending on what you're trying to do, it is a very useful book for building products. And there's a model. It's called the Hooked model. Starts off with exposure, right? So you're exposed to somebody's product or service in one way or another, whether that's an ad on social media, somebody tells you about it, whatever. You're exposed.
Okay.
Then the next step in the model is to get someone to take an action, download an app, purchase a product, go to an event, some type of action, right? The third one is people expect a reward from the action, right? So I buy this, I enjoy the food. I download this app, I get something valuable out of, using it. And, the original or like what people might assume is that, okay, every time somebody takes an action, you should give them a reward and they'll stay on that wheel forever. But it's actually better when the rewards are variable, right? So it's called variable reward, where every time you pull the slot, you don't know if you're going to get a hit, but you might. And then we will pull that lever forever. We'll swipe forever. Maybe this piece of content is going to excite us. Maybe this one will bring us value. So we just keep swiping because we might get something. That's what all of these have tapped into and why we're so hooked in them. So I want to just kind of elucidate that because it it's important, and they have figured it out, man. And I mean, they knew this from mice studies where they had a mouse press a lever, and every time they press a lever, they got they got like a piece of food. But the ones the mouse group that they press the lever and only got it every once in a while would press that thing forever. And so, that's what they modeled it based on. Then they came and brought it over here and like, oh, it works. They can swipe all day and we can sell them ads and all kind of stuff. Anyway.
That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's a useful thing to know. But yeah, back to the Pharrell thing. In December of 2022, I had got fired from one job, suspended from another. I was just spending maybe a little bit too much time trying to build Behr. A little more than the employers would have liked. And so then I decided to go full-time on Behr, but I knew that when you're launching something, like, you have to take massive action, right? Most of my job experience in the past has been in sales. And so I just made a big list, and I made several big lists, right? We made a big list of Black healthcare providers in the United States. We made a big list of grant opportunities in our particular topic area. And I also made a list of incubator and accelerator programs. Incubator and accelerator programs, for people that don't know, are kind of like startup boot camps or training boot camps, right? So they're generally 12 to 16 weeks long. And they kind of take your company from where it is, pump it with a bunch of different resources, whether that's cash, network, just knowledge on the industry.
Incubator, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then they hopefully get you to a destination that you're trying to get to a little faster than you would have by yourself. And so I don't know how many I applied to last year, man, but we did some real numbers. We applied to at least 50, 60 incubator programs last year. And we ended up getting into about 7, which is pretty good result. And one of those was the Black Ambition program with Pharrell Williams. Our first check actually came from Brent Fayez. There was his Show You Off grant. I don't know if you ever heard about it, but
shout out to Brent.
Yeah, that was our first 10K.
You got 10K from Brent, but yet when we run, you running with Drake. Like, what are we doing here?
Bro, why you had to bring
I had to bring it up. I thought it'd be a funny segment.
Why am I running with Drake?
No, that's okay. We're not really running with Drake, but I'm just saying, like, all right. So you got 10K from Brent. Was there like any contact from him, or just like, all right?
Yeah, there was. So they gave you 10K, but then also like quarterly you got to meet with their team. So we had some chats with Ty Bass and and some other people in his management team, just around like how to help our company grow from where it was, because we were very, very, very much just an idea still at that stage. And that was last year, 2020, April 2023. We're still very much like an idea stage company. We didn't have our app out yet. So we still had like an opportunity to figure out how we wanted to enter the market.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure you've ran across people. Maybe you have like a mentor or something like that. Has there been someone to kind of like help you through this process?
I mean, there've been several people. Like, one thing I'm really good about is assuming that I don't know everything that I could know about a particular problem I'm trying to solve. And I'm also just not afraid to ask. Yeah. Like, I have no shame in asking for what I need and for what I need help with. And so, I mean, there's Mark Quinn, Professor Mark Quinn. He's the director of the incubator at Xavier University of Louisiana. He's been a great resource. During my during my MPH, I did an investment program. So it was a fellowship program called the Kirchner Food Fellowship, and basically they selected 3 students from across the country to come up with an investment thesis. Basically, an investment thesis is the type of company that you want to invest in, and so we had to invest in some type of company that was improving food security, right, making it easier for people to get access to healthy food. And we were the first HBCU cohort. So they'd been doing this program for 9 years, but just like, after the Black Lives Matter movement, everybody curated programs for HBCU students, Black people. And so I was a part of the first cohort. And basically our job was to find a company that met our investment thesis, which was to invest in a company that improved nutritional health in Black communities, and ultimately invest $50,000 of their money into this company. So for a year, I was trained on like the startup industry, learning everything about like, the financials and what to look for in a founder. And just so many learnings from that have, proven to be useful for me here. But some of my mentors are also from that experience.
Okay.
They tons of mentors. I couldn't name all of them, but I've been through 7 incubators, and we did an incubator at Harvard, and Harvard has access to everybody, man. It was so insane. We were there for 2 weeks on campus in the Harvard Innovation Lab, and I've never met so many influential people that
in a 2-week span.
In a 2-week period, man. It was a powerful experience, and the most powerful part about it was the validation that I got from them around my business, right? To get signed off by Harvard, I'm like, I think we're on to something.
I think I'm moving in the right direction. That, to that, like, were there any? You said there was some kind of doubt, maybe like, hey, am I actually doing the right thing? Or is this actually the right process? Or should I even be doing this right now? Was there ever that moment of like just self-doubt or just doubting it?
It took a while for me to get to any real doubt after I started the company. Before I started it, obviously I was trying to decide if this was, because, it was a serious undertaking. Yeah. We're doing more than launching a health app. Our vision is to become the universal healthcare provider for the Black community and build a comprehensive healthcare resource for Black people, because the one that we have right now on offer does not work. Like, we're trying to build a new system.
Okay.
And so
I was about to ask, like, is there even a system for Black people to be healthy?
Not exclusive. No. No. And so, and not robust or nationwide. And so, our vision is to have nationwide clinics, and everything's connected to the app. And if there's ever any discrepancies in your score, we'll reach out and say, hey, come see us in one of the clinics. That's the ultimate vision. But that's going to take decades, right? So
yeah.
Before I started, I had doubts around like, can I lock in for decades? But for the first 18 months of building this, I had no doubts, because we kept getting so much positive feedback and validation from literally, bro. Like, the first check from Brent Fayez, we got another check the next month, another check the next month from another program. We just kept getting validation. So of course I'm gonna feel okay about continuing pursuing what I'm pursuing. In my first year, we're doing these numbers. We got something going. The most challenging part really has been the ebbs and flows of cash. Right, cash is oxygen for businesses, and because for the first year we were pre-revenue, we weren't selling anything yet. We didn't start selling anything until this year, and so we get a check, and then you run out of money, and then it's like, okay, how do I eat today? How do I, how do I put gas in my car today? How do I make sure that we can show up for this event and deliver despite the bank account? Get a check again. Okay, you'll be good, and then that'll run out. And so now it's encouraging as we're generating a little bit of cash. It's still nothing super significant, but with that traction, we're able to go garner more funds from potential investors and different programs. This year we're applying for more competitive programs that come with much bigger checks. So that the success rate has been lower, but I'm pretty excited for July. Things are looking pretty good for July.
You like the challenge?
I think I'd be bored otherwise.
Yeah, just the competitiveness. I mean, even let me tell the story because Kwame did something the other day. We were running at the NOLA Run event on Wednesday. Kwame said prior to the race that he would give.
It wasn't a race, Jarrett.
Every run is a race, Kwame. Prior to the run that he would give. It had to be a race because we were raising for money.
Yeah, at that point, yeah.
he would give $50 to the person that beat him. Now, I understand Kwame has run in his entire life, right? Competitively. And I can see like, all right, bro, I'm probably not gonna beat Kwame. But apparently there were discussions prior to you even saying that from Kiana saying, I think Jarrett's gonna beat you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what she told me.
Wow.
And then she tells me this prior to the race. I'm like, all right, let me try to at least keep up. We got about 2 miles in. You're probably running at like a 7:10 pace, somewhere in there. And I was like, nah, something's not right. Nah, I'm just not feeling it. So I try to get my pace going. I still try to run. Kwame, we were probably like maybe like 10 meters. You turn around to run with somebody else. He goes back to run to the end of the 2 miles, then catches me and then proceeds to pass me up. I think that's so that was like Allen Iverson stepping over Tyronn Lue in the final. That's what that felt like.
I'm sorry.
I've never been disrespected in running. Like, that's crazy. Like, I told you need like a highlight tape via running. Like that's wild. But so I did not win the $50. I think Kwame paid himself. I guess that's the cash flow that you need.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm glad I got to hold on to that. It's 200. It was like 280 people out there. I didn't know.
You never know who.
It could be some runners out here that. I mean, there are definitely people in the city faster than me. College athletes, former college athletes that have kept up with running a lot more than I have. But
you never know. I understand.
A chance, yeah.
And I took that chance, and I'm cool with failing. Like, how do you deal with failure?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I mean, I could speak to it generally, but I'll ask first for a specific, like, because I fail in so many different ways.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I was just speaking generally because I mean we all fail. What is your process in dealing with like any kind of? It could be business, it could be personal, it could be run related, it could be competitive. Like, just your general opinion about how you deal with failure.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess where I fail the most right now is in business, because that's where I'm taking the most action. Early on in my life, so my first job was in sales.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Vector Marketing?
Yeah.
Cutco knives.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my first job.
Oh, damn.
And because my parents didn't let me work in high school. And sounds crazy, right?
No,
not necessarily good. Okay.
No.
So, we had to. They took us through this training program, and we had to understand, how to make a big list. Reach out to the list. Most are gonna say no. You have to reach out to people 5 to 12 times before making a sale. You have to ask somebody 5 to 7 or 12 times before making a sale. And so like that kind of built the foundation of expecting to fail. I did really well that summer. I sold $25,000 worth of knives in 3 months, and made $10,000 as an 18-year-old.
Oh yeah, you was rich.
I bought so many people all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I didn't realize how fast money could go. I started Xavier that fall. After that summer, I bought a PlayStation and an Xbox, bro.
Oh, you stunting. You were stunting.
I mean, ended up selling a PlayStation because I needed some cash because I had run out. But
yeah, been there.
But yeah, just like that was had to be my foundation for just dealing with failure. I expect that it's a part of what I'm pursuing. And so, you know, I look at failures as an opportunity to evaluate, like, if I maybe could have done something a little better.
Yeah.
I don't take it personally when I fail. I assume that whoever made that decision has good reason for not selecting us for a program or what have you, or that there are just better companies out there right now. It is what it is. But that's why you just got to have like a long-term outlook. Because if we were fortunate, our first year, we got a lot of success, a lot of validation and feedback from programs. But this year, we haven't gotten as much.
Yeah.
Again, we're applying to more competitive programs, but still you feel it.
Yeah.
Right. You know, last year, every Friday, I felt like we were getting selected for a program. This year, months go by and no selection, you know. And but at the end of the day, like when I start feeling scared about failure or that we're not doing, you know, what's right, I just kind of remember the why and get real clear on the vision. And at the end of the day, if I'm only batting 10% now compared to 20% last year, well, then I got to do twice as many numbers. You know, I got twice as much work to get the same results. And so that's just, it is what it is right now. And I can continue to refine my skills. But until my skills are refined, I need to just do more numbers.
It's crazy kind of things that I've been dealing with in my life or just reading. Right? I'm reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I think one of the steps is like beginning with the end in mind. I think that's a big part of the process. A lot of people don't think about necessarily like the end. They think about, like, I guess, the glory or the satisfaction that comes with getting to the end point, but necessarily thinking about the work that it takes to get there. And you're not gonna.
I wouldn't think about that.
What?
The work.
You wouldn't think about the work?
No, it's too much. You wouldn't start.
All right, so there's this process called Agile. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I've been in consulting like the last 6 years, well, probably 7 at this point. There's like this Agile training, and they break things up in sprints. Like we know what the end product is, but there's a process in which of getting there. And a lot of people focus on, oh, we should do this first, or do this first, or do this first. Yes, you do have to think about those, but just think about them in individual sprints, and then the sprints add up to the end process. So what are we going to do in this first 2-week iteration? How are we going to do this? And I feel like I've always thought like that. Like, yeah, I know I'm trying to get to that point, but I know I need to take this first step, and what does it need to look like in 2 weeks? And there are some failures that come in those weekly sprints. There's some things that you don't account for. How do you adjust to things that, you know, come your way that you don't necessarily see? How are you flexible in that?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be able to deal with like so much uncertainty, especially in a startup. You know, you're bringing something new into the market, so you don't even know if people are gonna engage with it, right? You've set up your whole life to build something. You're not even sure if people are engaged with. So that, I mean, you got to deal with a lot of ambiguity. As a startup founder. But like that's the most important trait. Second most important trait of building a business, and particularly a startup, a company that's meant to be built fast. Most important trait is conviction. You just have to be like almost delusionally set on the fact that you're going to make this a reality. Because that forward moving energy is going to be what convinces others, right, to you know, come behind you or to write a check. You can have the greatest idea, but if you don't have conviction, it may not ever see the light of day.
I kind of associate conviction with confidence, right? You almost have to have some kind of false confidence. Not to say that you didn't put the work in, but you have to like have this over belief in something. You have to believe in it before anybody else believes in it.
It's strategic. It gives you the best chance at success because it puts you in the best frame of mind to act in a way that will get the results that you want. But the second most is the flexibility, the ability to pivot. They talk about this all the time in the startup world, because you have one idea, you have one expectation of how the market is going to receive what you're putting out, and then there's reality, right? Which then you have to adjust to that. I mean, they talk like this. They talk about this the most. They expect you to come into an incubator, and then your idea almost
changes.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, I've fought a bit. You know, one thing that I get a lot in these incubators, even ones that are tailored to the Black community, or even the incubators that are for Black founders, like why don't you make the app for everybody? I get that all the time, and there have been incubators where that was literally all we talked about. And I'm having philosophical debates about the best way to impact the Black community, with like a solution like this. And some of those, I think that generally those things just slow me down. And I feel like I've been pretty non-negotiable about the fact that this is the problem that I'm trying to solve. But sometimes, yeah, you're pushed and encouraged to pivot because there's a bigger market opportunity. For example, making this app general as opposed to us focusing on the Black community. Obviously, anybody can use the app. It's not like they scan you and be like, that'd be funny, bro. When you go to download it, they scans your face and it's like, oh, error. You know what I'm
saying? I just wonder about like the people that are super like ambiguous, or like,
oh, right.
They got a brown paper bag test for an app. That's crazy. To be honest with you, that actually is like my last question to you. Although we've talked for about an hour, you've made it a point to talk about like Black people in Juneteenth is coming up tomorrow. Like, why is like doing it for Black people that important to you?
It's never been done for Black people, and we have the results that we have today largely because of that reason. The practices, the policies, the beliefs, the structures that have put us in this position, right, that have created all of these disparities, were targeted. They were targeted at Black people specifically, and in unique and creative ways, right? Yeah. And they were effective because look, here we are in this position. And I just think that the solution should be equally targeted, equally creative, in finding ways to help address these particular issues as they relate to the Black community. You know, when it comes to health, and why I'm really excited about what we're building is because health equity is a great opportunity for us to address all of the long-standing structural and historical racism that exists in our system. Because when you solve health on the individual level, then it's like, okay, well, let me develop a drug to address this particular part of the Black body because this is something unique about Black people that's causing the disparity, right? A very, very, very small percentage of disparities are driven by unique aspects of Black people on a biological level. Like I said in the beginning, 60% of health disparities are driven by environmental factors. And so what we can do is use our data to improve these environmental factors, which at the same time addressed structural racism and institutional racism, because the only way to undo the damage done by that is to restore quality of life on an environmental, on a social, community level. And so, you know, in a roundabout way, this is really about undoing the damage of racism and charting a path forward to just longevity and prosperity in the Black community, just packaged in health. You know,
man, that was a lot. I mean, eloquently, it's purposeful, right? Like, I think you have a purpose in mind, purpose for Black people to, you know, be better. I don't know if I don't know if you listen to music. I know you don't watch TV. There's a rapper called
I listen to Drake.
Music is what I said. I'm playing. But Styles P, is a rapper, early 2000s. But now he's like on this health conscious thing, right? And probably let's say in the last like 10 years. And he's like from New York. And he had a podcast, and he was talking about like if we just solved like the health problem in America, if we just solved the health one, that changes everything. Like you'll think about education differently. You'll think about housing differently. You'll think about transportation differently. You'll think about everything differently if you just solve the health problem. And I think you're on the right path to solving said problem.
Absolutely, man. I mean, yeah, health. Everything affects health.
Yeah.
Everything. I don't know. Do we have a few more minutes to?
Yeah, no, go.
I wanted to define health. I think you asked that in one of the preview questions, because I think health can be like really, really, really complicated, and it's part of why people give up on whatever health status or they're trying to pursue. And simply put, health is the absence of disease, right? You know, I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I can tell you what it's not. And we come into this world relatively healthy. On the whole, most of us come in without disease, right? Obviously, there are rare cases, rare conditions, things like that, and we have to come up with solutions for those. But for the most part, we come into this world disease free. And just to break down the word disease, if you look at the prefix, it's dis-ease, right? Dis means not, ease means balance, right? So you're not balanced. Something is imbalanced. That's what causes dis-ease. And in the US, we're eating way too much of what we don't need, and we're not getting nearly enough of what we do need. We're being exposed to, stressors on a level that we can't manage, and we're not getting enough rest and recovery or enough, meditation and things like that to balance that out. And so then we have disease. Right? So it's not until we engage with the world that we start to develop all of these diseases. But I think it's important to remember that your natural state, the way that you come into the world, is
balanced.
And in health. And if you look at it through that perspective, and then on your journey, you just start to eliminate the things that you're doing too much of and start adding things that you're not doing enough of, well, then you'll be healthy again. And I think that's important because there are things, despite the environmental factors, that you can do in an individual level to mitigate or to fight against the challenges that or the disease that's developing because of the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, the food or food products that I call them that we eat in this country.
You said something that made me think about how Black men in particular don't like to go to the doctor, right? Because I'm healthy because I don't have a disease that I know about. Because if the only way I can know about a disease if I go to the doctor, which I don't do. So in that case, I'm healthy because I don't. That's the first thing that popped in my mind. Like, why are we so afraid to actually know the truth about us, or know, like, or just confirm that we're healthy? Because there's no way to.
Well, then because then we have to face it and deal with it.
Yeah,
and that's stressful. We're generally trying to avoid stressful, uncomfortable situations, right? And learning that you have type 2 diabetes, learning that you have hypertension, that's a stressful thing to learn. And because now you might have to get on medication, you might have to change your life. That may be really what it's about, right? I might have to change my life. I might have to stop drinking as much. I might have to start eating better. Like, who wants to change? I'm 45 years old. I've been living this way my whole life. I don't want to have to change. But the real fear that I have, man, in the Black community, because we're dying so much earlier compared to other populations, and it's getting worse with each generation, right? So life expectancy for Black men, for example, I think the latest they said was like 72, but that's just the latest update. It is almost certainly in the 60s at this point. And what's happening is, it's not just happening in the 60s, right? People are dying in their mid 40s from heart attacks and strokes. Literally, my mom's good friend lost her husband to a stroke last year at 46, leaving their 13-year-old son to have to grow up without a father. 46 compared to 80 years life expectancy. That's what? 35 years? Yeah. That's 35 years without income that can be invested and then put back into the family. We can't compete with other races. Everything's a competition, right? As you say. If we're living 70% shorter lives,
yeah,
so we're not. To me, it is the great that like our health is the greatest threat to the Black community because it takes away time, and time is the greatest predictor of wealth. And so yeah, that's really what terrifies me. And again, it's getting worse with each generation. This stuff is popping up in our 30s and 40s, or hypertension, blood pressure, some cancers are starting to pop up, and early detection is our best chance against it. And that's what the health app and the health score is really about, to help people know that, okay, if you have a health score in the 300s or the 400s, you're likely at risk for these chronic conditions, and you should go get that checked out.
I think the pushback is probably going to be around, now I have to know daily that I'm not where I need to be.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you get, an individual to accept, like, yeah, this is the score now, but it actually can change.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what the daily feedback, or the power of the daily feedback, right? When people start like their health journey, they don't really see results.
Yeah.
Right. You can be working out for a month and not really see any transformation having take place. So that's really why I like the score, because you can see it. Your score is improved just in 5 minutes after you finish the workout.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's powerful. And then, I wake up and check my score every morning to see why it changed, or if it changed at all. And when it goes down, I'm like, man, what happened? What did I do? Oh, I didn't sleep right, or I didn't exercise enough yesterday to where keep my score up.
I do challenge you for this one. I think you should have like a notification in the morning that pushes out, that gives you your score. Because I think people will be more inclined to click the app than to understand their score, rather than me having to go look for my score. Because if I have to go look for my score,
you might not look.
I might not look for my score.
That's fair.
That's my marketing mind.
You'll get a notification tomorrow.
Shit. But that's just my marketing mind thinking like, how could this be better?
Yep.
How can you? But I think there's been a super great conversation. Anything else you wanted to talk about? Probably something I should say. CJ McCollum, if you by chance listen to this, or any matter of fact, I might reach out to Larry Nance for you.
Okay.
I think Larry, yeah, you talked about the food desert, and I think that was the first thing that popped in my mind. Like, Larry Nance probably would be one to look at this. But any NBA player or anybody that's in the business, I think you should probably holler at Kwame. I can get you his email. I can get you his information. And kind of talk this through. I think Behr is a beneficial for the Black community, a beneficial part of the Black community. It could be, if given the chance. So holler at Kwame. But this has been another episode of The Rhythm. Shout out to Kwame for pulling up. We had a great conversation. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Be well. Peace.
See ya.